Donald Trump is trying to govern as if he won a supermajority. In fact, he's trying to govern as if he won the election by a substantial margin. The truth of the matter is, Donald Trump didn't win the election. The progressive volume of voting lost the election. And if you doubt it, you just have to look at the numbers. Imagine this. Donald Trump is going to win with a smaller number than Hillary Clinton won when she lost the Electoral College to him. In other words, Hillary Clinton's popular vote will be larger than Donald Trump's win. That is how crazy this system with the Electoral College is. There is a differential of I think about this. When Donald Trump won with a negative 3 million votes, he won a very large electoral win, similar to the electoral win that he has right now. And that's more than a 5 million vote differential, with the Electoral College staying the same and the person who actually won. Think about that. Think about that. But more importantly, Donald Trump was a very slim under 2-point win. And he wants to call that a mandate. And he wants to claim that gives him the ability to do all these things. When, if you want to look at what a current mandate looked like, look at when Obama won in 2008 and look at when Biden won in 2020. And Republicans didn't want to call that a strong win. Obama won by 7 points. Biden won by, I think, 4 or 5 points? Think about that. Donald Trump would have won by less than half that. And he thinks he has a mandate. And many are allowing him to get away with believing he had or has a mandate. Check this out, then we'll take it on the other side.
It's now been 2 weeks since the election, and because of the pace at which California counts its votes, it is only now that we basically have a near final vote tally for the entire election. And guess what? Yes, Donald Trump won the election, won the popular vote. He will be the next president. There's no question about that. It's also one of the narrowest popular vote wins in U.S. history. He got less than half the votes cast. That's right, he won a plurality, but not win an outright majority. He won by about 2.5 million votes out of more than 150 million cast, meaning his lead over Kamala Harris in the popular vote is down to about 1.6%. In fact, take a look at this chart. It shows the margin of victory in the popular vote for every presidential election going back to 2000. As you can see here, Trump's margin of victory this month was the smallest of anyone who actually won their election and won the popular vote. Although he did get a higher share than Al Gore, who lost. Trump even won the popular vote, get this, by less than Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in 2016. Not only was Trump's victory historically narrow, but Democrats also did surprisingly well in down ballot races for a losing side. Yes, they lost 3 Senate seats in Ohio, West Virginia, Montana, states that Trump won by huge margins. It's kind of the result you would expect. But Democrats also managed to eke out 4 Senate victories in swing states that Trump won: Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona. And that's not really what you'd expect. I mean, in 2016 and 2020, get this, Democrats didn't win any Senate races in states Trump won. This time they won 4. Trump didn't really offer Republicans much in the way of coattails to ride. Just look at the House, where the balance of power is going to remain essentially unchanged. In fact, if the current House results hold and Trump succeeds in getting confirmation for his cabinet nominees who sit in Congress, the GOP is on track for the smallest House majority since there were 50 states. Okay, so let's take a step back. Keep all this in mind. As you hear Trump and his supporters suggest, the election was this enormous wave in which a transformation swept across the country, in which Americans were just begging for a full MAGA makeover. That's the line Republicans are selling, and lots in the mainstream media are granting it weirdly in various ways. But it's just plainly not true. And we've gone through this before. I mean, just compare all the postmortems in the past 2 weeks about what the American people really wanted when Trump won by 1.6 points nationally. Compare that with the postmortems we got in 2016 after Hillary Clinton beat him by 2.1% nationally, but lost the Electoral College.
Why do you think she did so poorly with white working class voters?
Well, first of
all, I don't think as a party we spent, look.
There were still many college-educated women who either came home to the Republican Party or found themselves voting for Trump.
We need to be attentive to the fact that we have a big problem with middle-class white voters that we haven't been paying attention to.
The Democrats have a huge moment of reckoning here. I don't know how they're going to come out of it. I don't know what they're going to learn from it. But this path they're on right now is unsustainable.
It's basically the same stuff. And again, fair enough, they lost the election. But the narrative that was built out of this was about how the real Americans wanted Trump and how can you be so out of touch. And now it's all the same stuff about Americans wanting Trump and everyone else. The other half of the country is just out of touch. It's all ludicrous. We're talking about tiny fluctuations, tiny portions of the electorate switching votes, and as best we can tell, like in the last minute, in the last week. And again, those votes matter, right? This is how we run the democracy, right? 50+1 or the Electoral College. They're what gave Trump a victory. It's why he'll be the next president. All this matters. It matters for Democrats that they figure out how to win elections and not lose them. That matters a lot. But again, when we're talking about like, what is the new picture of the American soul? I mean, generally what we know is that people really felt like the country was on the wrong track. Late deciders did not like the economy, particularly higher prices. They felt squeezed. They wanted something different. But it's absurd to read that as a mandate for the absolute avalanche of insanity that Trump and Republicans are planning for his second administration. And it's a lot, and it's really nuts. From the plan to use the military to forcibly expel millions of migrants from the country and possibly imprison people in blue states who don't comply with their deportations, to getting rid of birthright citizenship, which is written into the 14th Amendment, to using and abusing the Department of Justice as a tool for retribution against perceived political enemies, to using the FCC to threaten media that's critical of Trump, to threatening the health and well-being of trans people and women, driving the prices of virtually everything up with tariffs on the goods people buy every day. That's real. They're good. I think they're going to do it. Now, Kamala Harris had a line in her campaign speeches about how she would start day one with a to-do list and Trump would start with an enemies list. And I think we're seeing she was right. And ultimately she lost. But also there was no mandate in this election for an enemies list, okay? There was a mandate for cheaper gas and cheaper eggs. But Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for cheaper eggs. What he has plans for is to let an unelected Elon Musk run roughshod over the government and every other crazy Project 2025 right-wing fever dream along with Trump's personal grievances. At a certain point, there's going to be a reckoning, I'm telling you, over the distance between what swing voters who gave Trump this majority were voting for and what they're about to get.
What mandate is he talking about? Again, think about what Chris Hayes just spoke about there. It is important. It is important that we understand the scam. They think by saying things and repeating things over and over, it's going to jam people into saying, oh my God, Donald Trump won a big election. Look, I don't want anybody to think that I'm not giving the man his due. He won the election. The man won the election, but it was a very thin win. It was a very thin win. It wasn't the kind of win that Joe Biden had. It wasn't the kind of win that Obama had. It was a very thin win. And it was no mandate because the people weren't voting for all these things. The people weren't voting for a government that doesn't work. The people weren't voting to put a whole lot of TV stars to run major organizations. That is political malpractice. That is immorality. That is all these things, knowing that you have serious or agencies that you will have taken over by a whole bunch of charlatanes. Makes no sense. But you know what? Donald Trump is using all of his quote unquote capital now. The sad thing about it is later on he may need it. He won't have it.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.